Welcome to the Herd's official YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out the Colin Cowherd podcast, all of our NFL instant reactions, and more football content. So tonight's Thursday Night Football. And I just read a headline today that Keon Coleman, second round wide receiver they drafted, the Buffalo Bills. They're going to bench him again. He's not going to start again, so he could be a bust. And yet it has absolutely no impact on Josh Allen. And I want to talk about Josh Allen. He is the best football player to me on the planet. He's one of the 5 best football players I've ever seen. Lawrence Taylor's in that group. Jerry Rice probably in that group. Remember last year, everybody was talking about Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, MVP controversy. Let me put it in perspective. Just this year, in the past 5 weeks, in fact, in the past 2 months, the Bills are 5-0 when Josh has 3 or more touchdowns. Yet they're 0-3 when he scores 3 or fewer touchdowns. They literally need him to score 3 touchdowns minimum in the last 2 months for Josh Allen to just help Buffalo win a game. No franchise that I ever remember has been this quarterback dependent. Oh, Lamar. This year, the Ravens started Tyler Huntley in a game, scored 30 points, and beat the 7-3 Chicago Bears. And looked good. Looked really good with Tyler Huntley. Just think about how valuable Josh Allen is. In the past 2 months, he's got to score minimum 3 touchdowns to just win games. Last year, Patrick Mahomes was 16th in passer rating, only 9th in touchdown passes, and yet the Chiefs went 15-2 because Kansas City, top to bottom, does so many things well. Jalen Hurts had the same number of touchdown passes last year as Kirk Cousins, and they won the Super Bowl because Philly does so many things well. Even Joe Burrow, they couldn't make the playoffs with him, but when he gets hurt, Flacco still comes in and throws for 250 yards. The offense still works. Josh Allen has to be Superman for Buffalo to just win games. Now think about this. And this is one of the reasons I thought Josh was the MVP. And I'm a Lamar Jackson defender. But from 2000 until Lamar Jackson showed up, the Ravens were not only good, they won 2 Super Bowls. And not with Joe Montana, with Joe Flacco and Trent Dilfer. The Ravens could win Super Bowls pre-Lamar Jackson with what you consider to be, middling quarterbacks, although Flacco was pretty good. Buffalo couldn't win a playoff game. Couldn't win a single playoff game before Josh Allen. That's the difference. They're building a new stadium in Buffalo for one reason, not because it just got chilly. The snow flurries didn't just happen in the last 2 years. They're building it because of Josh Allen. Because the game he played New England, 45-mile-an-hour winds, and New England won and only had to throw like 3 times. And they're like, this Northeast weather may get in the way of Josh Allen's greatness. He's literally getting $1 billion-plus stadium built. And it's not just this year that he has 28 total touchdowns, most in the league, or 37 offensive touchdowns. Most in the NFL, the Bills do as a team. It's that 76% of their offensive touchdowns come from one guy. I mean, if he was a stock, your financial advisor would tell you to diversify. You've got too many eggs in one basket. The Chiefs, the Ravens, the Eagles, they've won Super Bowls with Nick Foles and Trent Dilfer. They've been winning way before their star quarterback showed up. Buffalo couldn't win a playoff game for 25 years. One. Here's Sean McDermott. Bills play tonight on Josh Allen.
When he's on his game, you look out. I mean, he's the best there is in the business, and he was on his game last week, that's for sure, and the offense was rolling.
Okay, so we've been on something for a while, and I do think the smarter viewers and listeners in Pittsburgh agree with us. There's a percentage of fans who just can never see. They got the blinders on. But there's a story today, a headline that says the Steelers have yet to get their money's worth on DK Metcalf. So he's having career lows. And I warned you about this. I said he's moody. He does not run a great route tree. And Seattle knows that JSN's a more complete receiver. But DK Metcalf is just a symptom of a greater sickness, called an offensive plague for 7 years. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is in Pittsburgh, the coordinator, the running back, the left tackle. They're bad on offense. It's an underlying issue. I'll give you an example. George Pickens leaves Pittsburgh. He is lighting it up. Lighting it up. Most yards, touchdowns through 10 games, more this year than all of last season. George Pickens has exploded, leaving Mike Tomlin's team. DK Metcalf is having career lows. Yeah, he was better in Seattle with Geno Smith than he is now with Aaron Rodgers. I have been saying for years, are the Steelers just a more stable version of the New York Jets, where great players leave and get better? Coaches leave and are better. They enter, everybody shrinks. Think about this. I'll give you another example. Kevin Dotson, offensive guard, wasn't slated. Mike Tomlin did not see him as a starter. Since McVay and the Rams have picked him up, he's a top 2 offensive guard in the league. Jonnu Smith, Pro Bowl, Miami last year. Steelers bring him in. He has 165 total yards. Are you seeing a trend? Trying to get the Steelers to understand offense is like trying to get your grandparents to understand 6'7". The Jets and the Steelers, talented athletes enter and shrink. Jets and Steelers, talented athletes exit and shine. Jonnu Smith, Kevin Dotson, DK Metcalf, George Pickens. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. You can all blame Aaron Rodgers. It's not an Aaron Rodgers issue. That's why I've been defending Aaron all the time. Aaron just stepped into the Pittsburgh Steelers quicksand. Right now, this year, the Steelers' wide receivers have the fewest targets and receptions in the league. What do you think? Aaron can't get the ball to him? I have been defending Aaron all year, saying throw to the tight ends. Throw to the tight ends. Like those are the money shots for this offense. They have enormous size. So it's just very interesting. People looked at the DK Metcalf signing and went, oh, sort of like Tyreek Hill. Oh, he's going to change everything in Miami. Not outcomes. DK Metcalf going to change everything. The Steelers have become a more refined, less chaotic version of the Jets. Offensive players go to Pittsburgh and New York and they shrink, they exit, and they shine. I mean, look at Sam Darnold now. Look at George Pickens now. Look at Kevin Dotson now. And yet Jonnu Smith with Miami's a Pro Bowler. He's lost in Pittsburgh. So Aaron wants to play this week. Aaron is going to do it if he's healthy, but everybody's pointing at Aaron. It's not Aaron. Here's Mike Tomlin.
He's the type of guy and has the type of profile that doesn't require a lot of physical work and an effort to be ready to play, and that's helpful. A little later in the week, we'll take a look at Aaron. And again, as I mentioned, the variables are stabilizing it and making sure that he's safe and he can protect himself, brace himself as he falls, etc. Pain tolerance, but that doesn't seem to be an issue with Aaron. He wanted to go back in the game on Sunday.
Yeah, so this again, DK Metcalf is just a symptom of it. It is a much bigger underlying issue. Offensively, last 6-7 years, bottom 5 offense. How's that possible? They've drafted good players. They have good players. Boy, you start looking at Kevin Dotson and you start looking at Metcalf shrinking and George Pickens exploding and Jonnu Smith shrinking. They've had different coordinators. They've had different quarterbacks. They're bringing it all sorts of different, and it's always the same. And it's also a team that tends to get worse post-Thanksgiving. You know, there are varying arguments why, but if you start looking at their schedule, last year they fell apart late. Start looking at them now. Start looking at that schedule. Ravens late, at Cleveland, at Detroit, at Baltimore. Here comes Buffalo. At Chicago. Is this weekend the beginning of a harsh slide into the toilet? We'll see. Today's show is brought to you by our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. This is that golden time of the year when it's not just pro football, NBA, college football, college hoops, hockey, all share the stage. There's always something to bet on. If you haven't tried your first bet on Hard Rock Bet yet, there's still time to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. All you have to do is place $5 bet. That's it, $5. If it hits, you not only get your winnings, but $150 in extra bonus bets. And if you're looking for an edge before you lock in, check out the Hard Rock Bet Stats Hub. Trends, it's loaded with streaks, stats to help guide your picks. So numbers don't lie, neither does the data in there. The Hard Rock Bet app sportsbook, it's the only legal sportsbook for whenever you're in Florida. It's also live in Arizona, Ohio, New Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, Colorado, coming soon to more states. Plus, Hard Rock Bet offers new promos every single day. So whenever you're listening, just open the app, check out what you've got any day of the week. Download the Hard Rock Bet app and make your first deposit.
Let's bring on Greg Cosell, 46 years NFL films, joining us now live. Let's just start with this one because it's a story out of Philadelphia that he kind of does his own thing, which I remember for years and years, you telling me, and I wouldn't listen. You're like, Russell Wilson, it's like they're pre-produced ad libs. Like I don't know if it's ad lib. Is there a feel that Jalen sometimes isn't running the offense that's designed for him?
That's a hard question to answer, Colin. I will say this, though. When you watch their tape, and you know me, I solely go by the tape. I'm not going to get involved in the Derek Gunn story or anything like that. But I will say this. When you watch their offense and their pass game in particular, the one thing you definitely see is that it's rather elementary and remedial in their concepts. And that's just what the tape shows. They don't do a lot. We talk about other quarterbacks and other coaches. You watch a Ben Johnson offense. You watch the concepts that they run. And other coaches, Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan. You don't really see that right now in Philadelphia. Now, you know me well enough to know I don't rip coaches. This is not a knock on Jalen Hurts. I don't know what goes on in their meetings. I don't know what goes on in their locker room. But I can tell you that the tape shows that their offensive pass concepts are they're rather basic and simplistic for the NFL.
Yeah. All right, you mentioned San Francisco. Brock Purdy comes back. He and Kittle have always had a thing where when you watch the Niners offense with Mac and then with Brock Purdy, give me one thing where Brock Purdy is absolutely, inarguably superior to Mac Jones and allows Kyle Shanahan to do that maybe he doesn't do with Mac Jones.
I think one thing that always stands out to me with Purdy is that he has a much more aggressive mindset throwing the football. So he'll push the ball down the field. Now, I'm sure some 49ers fans will say, gee, he'll throw some bad picks. And it's not as if he's an interception machine by any stretch. But he is far more aggressive throwing the football, and I think he sees the game a little more aggressively like that. I think the Kittle touchdown last week, not the one we just saw, but the first one, the 30-yarder, is a good example of that. This is it, because he checked to that at the line of scrimmage. He changed the formation. He knew what he had, and he threw a slot fade. Now, I'm not saying Mac Jones isn't capable of that, but I just think that Purdy, mindset-wise, is far more aggressive in his mentality of how he sees the game and the throws that he will make.
I made an argument this week when Sam Darnold came out. I said he's a bit of a poor man's Andrew Luck. He's reckless, big, strong, physical. And it's interesting.
Sure.
Andrew Luck had 9 games in his career with 3 or more picks. Sam Darnold has 9 games in his career with 3 or more picks. The worst game Luck had was a 4-pick game against Belichick. What was Darnold's worst game? Well, it's Shula of the Rams and a couple Belichick games. So they're similar. I think Luck's better. But when I watch Sam, I'm like, listen, part of what makes Sam interesting is that he really is aggressive and he is not deterred after a pick. He doesn't care. Andrew Luck did not. Andrew Luck didn't care. So what did you make of the performance against the Rams?
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the 4 interceptions. So you have to look at each one individually, and you have to evaluate that as individual plays. And there were two that were really, really bad. When I watch an interception, particularly one that's bad, Colin, what I try to do is get in the head of the quarterback and try to see, okay, what is he seeing? How is he seeing this? Why did he make that throw? Because when you see it, you go, oh, my God, how did he throw that ball? But obviously, he didn't throw the ball intentionally to hit the defensive back between the numbers. So I try to get into the head of the quarterback based on the route concept, the coverage. And I can understand, I think, why he made some throws. There was one that was really bad where I think it was the last one where he sort of panicked, and I think he had a throw that he could have had. It's this one right here that we're looking at now. But the others, I could give you reasons why I think he made the throws. Obviously, the result wasn't the same. But you made a great point. And, in fact, I said to one of my guys when I was watching this tape, I said, boy, after an interception, he's not shy. He just comes back and he's going to throw the football. And I think that's a positive trait in a quarterback.
All right, so Drake May, I think New England thought he was going to be good. I'm not sure if they thought he was going to lead the league in accuracy by the beginning of year two. Does Drake May have a weakness to this point? Anything that a top defensive coach could trick him or sucker him into?
Well, I don't want to say he doesn't have a weakness. I'll tell you why, because he's going to have a bad game. I mean, every quarterback's going to have a bad game or a game that's less than good. And then we're going to say, oh, look what they did to him. So I'm not going to sit here and say, God, this guy's, on his way to the Hall of Fame right now. But I think when you watch his tape, you see a very calm, composed, calculated player who knows where to go with the football. He doesn't really make the kinds of throws where you say, God, what's he doing? Why is he making that throw? I think the thing that's really stood out to me has been his ball location, Colin. His ball location has been really, really precise. And I think that that's something that is often overlooked. I mean, if you reduce quarterback play to its simplest terms, it's throwing to the right receiver at the right time with the right kind of throw. That's what quarterback play ultimately is. And he's been doing that at a really high level.
So let's go back to Denver's win over Kansas City, because that was the game of the day.
Sure.
Along with Seattle Rams. So let's start with Bo Nix, who had struggled on opening drives. This one he moved the ball. So he's been great late. He has struggled early. I felt watching him a little less frenetic. I thought I just felt like he was running the offense a little better. And I know it's Spags.
Yeah.
Chris Jones played well. What did the film say about Bo, his pace, his tempo, his rhythm, his confidence?
He may be one of those guys, Colin, that just has uneven plays where at times you just look at the play and you go, God, he's moving for no reason. He's moving unnecessarily. He does that. He did that in this game. But then he also has really good plays where he looks very calm and very comfortable and sees it clearly. So obviously he's only in his second year, so I'm not going to sit here and paint him with a brush for his whole career and say he's always going to be like that. But he's still working through that to a certain extent, where there are just plays where it seems as if he almost invents and creates his own pressure for no reason at all. But then he looks very calm and composed, and it's just hard to get a read on it. Now, obviously, because he looks calm and composed in the fourth quarter, he's getting a reputation as he's a clutch quarterback. But I'm sure Sean Payton would like to see him play that way through 4 quarters.
Right. Let's go to Kansas City. Could I argue the one thing that Mahomes has never been able to overcome is a really bad tackle, left or right? That's the time he's been blown out in Super Bowls. And that really Kansas City's offensive issues come down to this. Their protection, Tooney left, elite interior lineman. Right tackle is a massive concern. It's probably what they're drafting with their first pick next year. And it just comes down to this. Mahomes has a very average offensive lineman in that group. They miss Tooney, and he doesn't trust the O-line. Is it that simple?
No, I think there's a larger context here to the Chiefs. Let's remember over the last 2 years, Colin, they've not been a high-scoring offense, okay? And I think a lot of people lose sight of that. And this is no knock on Mahomes as a player. We know what he is. We know he's a great player. That's not the point I'm making. But I think one thing that has changed this year, which has impacted Mahomes, and it impacts their whole team, is the defense on third down in particular has not been as good. Keep in mind, over the last 2-3 years, their defense has been phenomenal. They have not given up many points. I think they've given up less than 18, 17 points a game over the last 2-3 years. They were phenomenal on third down. This year, it's not been quite the same, and that puts a little more of a burden on your offense. I mean, we're just seeing Mahomes throw an interception here. And again, when you get into these plays that are second reaction outside of structure plays, of which Mahomes has been special in his career, Josh Allen has been special in his career, but those are hard plays to always count on every single week. And if your defense is putting you in a position where it seems like you have to make those plays every week, they don't always happen.
Yeah. Okay, I actually think people say it's just the Raiders, but Philadelphia and Dallas play, and I think Dallas has a puncher's chance. First of all, they're getting excellent receiver play, excellent running back. The O-line is young, and in pass protection, it's very uneven. Think they're a little bit better blocking for the run, or maybe that's Javonte Williams. But here's the thing. So I said I defended the Micah Parsons trade because it's a good NFL draft. They have 2 first-round picks. It's a good linebacker and edge draft. And I said they're going to get a cheaper Micah somewhere or something close, and they're going to take both those picks will probably be defense. So I said, I get it. They're paying CD. They're paying Dak. They're paying a lot of money. But I watched them against the Raiders, and they were healthy, and Overshown was back. And that second-round pick was healthy. And then Quinnen Williams looked like Robert Saleh's Quinnen Williams. And I said, you know what? I said, now that they're healthy on defense, they're getting pressure on the quarterback. They're athletic looking. So I think, I'm not saying this is a playoff team, but I watched them and I didn't think it was just because it was the Raiders. I look at them and I think, you know what? If they nail 2 first-round picks, Caleb Downs, Ohio State, maybe an edge rusher, I don't think they're miles away. What do you make when you watch Dallas? Athletically, draft picks are young players.
Well, to me, this game is about their offense versus the Eagles' defense, because the Eagles' defense is really, really good, and they've been phenomenal over the last 5 games. I mean, they've only allowed, I think, quarterbacks to complete about 55%. But this is a fascinating matchup because you're going to get a receiver in George Pickens who lines up as what we call the boundary X, the single receiver to the short side of the field more than any other receiver in football. And the boundary corner for the Eagles is Quinyon Mitchell. That'll be a fascinating matchup. We know that Lamb is phenomenal as sort of a Z, a movement receiver who can line up anywhere. They've got a strong run game. The main thing, can they protect Dak Prescott? You're right about the O-line. It's a little uneven, but it has some talented players. Yeah. I'd be very concerned about the Jalen Phillips-Terrence Steele matchup on the right side of their O-line, because Jalen Phillips, I mean, he ran by Penei Sewell last week and caused problems. So, to me, that side of the ball will dictate the outcome of this game.
Okay, I want to talk Rams, Seattle. I want to talk specifically Rams. So, the reason their defense is good... Sure. Some of it is just they have not missed on a defensive draft pick in 2 or 3 years. They got a lot of speed and a lot of power and a lot of good guys. And they've Emmanuel Forbes coming over is now some length at corner. They got they have very good personnel. Offensively, what's fascinating is I like their personnel as well. But they do have these stretches, and you saw it in the second and third quarter where it just stalls. And we know McVay is gifted. We know Puka, Devontae, tight end, Kyron Williams. Explain why, and is it maybe just a lack of Stafford mobility? He's one of the last pocket guys. Why does their offense stall at times?
You know, that's a hard question. I mean, this week they played a very good defense. I mean, they've done a lot of things. McVay is very creative. I mean, we know that Higbee just went on IR, so we'll see. But they've been playing a ton with 3 tight ends, 13 personnel, 1 back and 3 tight ends. Last 4 games, well over 40% of their offensive snaps. Now, will that continue without Higbee? They still have 3 other tight ends. We'll find out. And it's funny because in that 13 personnel package, Nakua never plays. It's usually Devontae Adams. Almost always Devontae Adams is the wide receiver. But But, you know, offensively, they're very good. You know, it's hard to be great every possession, and they just played a Seattle defense that's really, really good. I think their run game has been a little inconsistent, and that might be one reason, Colin. I think last week they ran the ball pretty well against, or Williams had a couple of really good runs against the Seattle defense. But last week they played a very good defense. Seattle's got one of the better defenses in the league.
Yeah, other thing about the Rams is they don't turn it over and they never get penalized. They are the cleanest team in the league for the second year in a row. Okay, Josh Allen plays Houston tonight. No C.J. Stroud. I think Houston defensively is active and
phenomenal.
Tough. How does Josh Allen, match up with that Texans defense tonight?
This is going to be fascinating because Josh Allen is, he's the most gifted quarterback in the league just in terms of physical traits. And I think you'd probably agree with that.
Yep.
And we know what he can do. We know what he can do in terms of these special plays. But they've struggled at times this year sort of playing within structure within the pass game. And, you wonder, I'll tell you what, I watched this tape in great detail, obviously. And I didn't think Josh Allen had a great game despite 6 touchdowns. I thought there were things he missed. Now, he does this a lot, and then he often makes up for it and compensates. And we're going to show that kind of play momentarily, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. But this is a really hard defense to play against, and I don't think you can go into a game and say, well, Josh is going to make 4 special plays and we're going to win. I think this is the kind of game where you hope he can do that, but there has to be a sense of structure and stability to their offense where they sustain and move the ball.
Greg Cosell on a Thursday, Bills and Texans tonight. Greg, as always, great stuff.
Thanks, Colin. Appreciate it.